from the bar.
Stevie Wonder, I just called to say I love you. It's Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's doing great. Okay, well, boy, yesterday's show went over real well. That's kind of what I was expecting anyways. Definitely got some upset people out there. Definitely got some people that are kind of on board, and then probably everything in between in there. That's kind of what I expected. That's okay. I knew I was going against the grain, and I still don't agree with the consensus out there, and that's okay. That's all right. That's part of the fun of having different perspectives about these different topics. So that's a wonderful thing. Also wanted to apologize to everybody, too. I was stuck in jury duty today, so absolutely zero access to a computer the entire day. So before I started recording this, I had a nice chance to check out all the comments, and so that was good times, good times. So anyway, needless to say, for those that disagree with me, that's cool. That's what we're here for. And for those of you that do agree with me, awesome. That's what we're here for. And then everything in between, it's okay. That's how it's going to be. I will do more shows on it. But again, just to reiterate, I don't agree with the consensus out there, and that's totally cool. I don't think people should all see things exactly the same way. I think that would actually probably be more of a problem in the big picture. And certainly no one's looking at things critically if we're not looking at it and seeing little differences. So all that being said, when self-love works too good. Here's another show that may ruffle a couple feathers, but it's not anything too terribly crazy, and it's going to be a very short show in the big picture. I got another day of jury duty coming up. Woohoo! So excited. So just trying to get everything taken care of in the little bit of time that I got in this day. But sometimes one of the things that can happen, a lot of us, we go through our moments where we realize we need to do some self-love. We need to try to heal the things that are inside of us that are definitely causing issues. Maybe they're the things that are causing us to attract certain kinds of people, certain kinds of predicaments. Maybe there's maybe the concept of attracting people that aren't interested in us or maybe aren't available. All these things can definitely be indicators that we need to spend a little time kind of looking at what it is about us that needs love. What is it about us that needs to be fulfilled? You're going to find in some cases, too, that people actually get themselves to a place where, I don't know, relationships themselves are almost kind of I don't know, like there's just so much that goes into it. And so, again, a lot of different avenues that comes from this self-reflection. But one of the very powerful things that can and often does happen is we go through this whole self-healing, self-awareness, self-understanding process, and we begin to see what it is that we like, what it is that we don't like, what it is that we'd like more of, and what it is that we'd like to see go away. And sometimes some unintended consequences can come from that. Things such as maybe there was a friend that you used to be very close to, but once you've gotten into law of attraction and all this stuff, they became so negative towards you that anytime you ever talk with them, they say something like, oh, so you still following that crazy stuff? Or, something along those lines. So again, sometimes friendships might have to go by the wayside as we decide this is kind of stuff I believe in, this is stuff that I love and feel, and this is stuff that I experience. I wish more people understood the power of their thoughts and the power of what they're capable of creating in their own lives just by the very nature of kind of thinking about those things and certainly working towards them and kind of being open to any sort of inspired action, as I believe Pamela has called it, and I think it's a wonderful phrase to do it, or just when it feels like something needs to happen, when action is before you, whether it's inspired or not, sometimes you just got to act, right? So the inspired action is a great way to look at it. But again, we do all this and spend all this time really kind of like looking inward at ourselves, and you will find sometimes that some of the things that you've been working so hard on your self-love for aren't necessarily as interesting to you anymore once you've reached that self-love. Once you've actually really dug down inside and you're like, man, I realized that there was a lot of things I wasn't doing for myself, that I wasn't focused on my career, I wasn't focused on the direction, I wasn't focused on what makes me happy. And because of that, I was in a relationship that was very unfulfilling. And though I was in it, and I was in it for the long haul because I just believed in being in the relationship and I committed to somebody and I don't see any reason to break commitments. And then suddenly things kind of break apart to no desire of my own. But then in looking at myself a little more closely, suddenly realize, maybe I'm just not interested in that anymore. And that will happen for some of us. Some of us, the answer is getting our self-love to get back to where things were when the relationship was going well before we got freaked out and messed it up. That's totally a different scenario. But in the cases where you were in a relationship and it wasn't really going well anyway, and there was problems from not the get-go, but for a while, that you start to look at things and you're like, man, I've changed. I'm awakening. I'm becoming more spiritual. I'm starting to meditate. I'm starting to actually care about what I think about, what I say, what I do, what I eat. And all these things are starting to make me understand that I'm changing as a person. I'm starting to notice things. I'm starting to have interesting dreams. I've actually had some precognizance, maybe. Some sort of, I almost saw that coming, or I knew that person was lying to me, and it turned out I found out for sure they were. And we start realizing that we are changing, and many of us are. Many of the people that are going to be in my audience, typically anyways, are going to be of the ilk that are of changing. We are about change. A lot of us are changing. This planet is changing. Some major things are going on. Stuff I've been following for 25 plus years, and stuff that is actually coming to a very interesting head right now in the big world universe kind of picture. A lot of really, really cool stuff that I've followed, and a lot of things are happening. So again, awakening is a huge part of hopefully what is bringing people to my channel, at least. Certainly law of attraction is one of the things, as I've talked about before. The key is controlling how we think, the fact that we have control over our lives and what we experience, for the most part, right? I mean, there's going to be some odd things that happen from time to time that maybe it's not easy to find any sort of causation for, but I bet if you spend some time, you will find some causation, something you were thinking, something you were fearing, maybe something that you were talking about 3 months ago, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I was having that conversation with so-and-so, and whoa, here it is, right? So again, as we're evolving, as we're growing, as we're learning and then healing some of the things that existed inside of us, we actually might find that we've reached a point that we're looking for more, that we're looking for something different than what we did before. And just because we felt so strongly about it 6 months ago, felt so strongly about it 6 weeks ago, doesn't mean you're not allowed to change your mind. That's the other side of this that we keep talking about. That's one of the beautiful things about letting go, for example. You can let go, and then you can just not let go. It's super easy to change. That's one of the joys of these things that we're doing. You can choose to do something one moment, and then the next moment, change your mind. It's okay. That's part of this. As we experience things and learn and understand more, we have more information from which to make decisions. And again, as we go down this self-loving process, as we go down this path of really identifying ourselves, identifying what we love about ourselves, identifying what we'd like to experience more, and identifying who we'd like to become as people, as spiritual co-creators on this planet, sometimes we start to find that certain things that were in our past might not continue to make sense in our present or our future. That's okay. And so I want people to be open to that. I'm not saying this is going to happen to you. I'm not saying this isn't going to happen to you. What I am saying is, as we're making changes and growth, certain things in your life will fall by the wayside. Certain things will be strengthened. And certain things won't necessarily matter as much. It won't have that same feeling to it. It might start to feel not good, or instead of it feeling awesome and amazing and wonderful, it might just feel okay. Pay attention to how you're feeling. Pay attention to what you're showing yourself, what your higher self is showing yourself. Pay attention, because there's messages within that. There's lessons within that. There's knowledge that your conscious self can gain from paying attention to what your higher self is trying to show you. They are truly working together. So hopefully as this self-loving process happens, hopefully things keep going down a path that you're consciously happy with. But on some of the occasions where maybe things are getting a little changey, a little shifty, you're not sure why a door seems to be closing when you're doing all this imaginal work and you've done all this self-love and that door seems to be closing, that's not necessarily a bad thing. As they always say, the adage goes, when a door closes, another one is opening. So just be cognizant, be aware, be knowledgeable of this potentiality, of this possibility that could exist in your life as you start to wake up, as you start to see more and more, as you start to understand more and more about what it is that you truly love and adore. And don't get stuck living by old rules, because as we learn new things, our rules should be changing along the way. We should not be so rigid in our belief structures that we're not able to kind of relook at beliefs and go, does this still work for me? Does this still work for where I'm at? And sometimes we're probably going to say, no, it doesn't. And that's okay. That's okay. In fact, it's actually something to be rejoiced upon, because that indicates reasonably significant change. What felt good 6 months ago doesn't feel good now. That means you've made some significant progress and change in your life. And that is an awesome indication. And as you start to get behind that and go, okay, life, higher self, I'm open. Show me. What are you trying to show me? And start to see what things start to show up in front of you, what things start to catch your attention, what things you start to emotionally get behind, what dreams maybe you have, and you will start to see the answers to your questions. And it's very powerful, because again, when you're working with your own internal self and getting answers from your own internal self or your higher self or whatever we are comfortable calling that, you're working within. And you're finding the answers within. And again, that's one of the key things I'm trying to help people awaken to, and what I'm trying to help teach is we have control over our